Girls, what was the most obvious hint you dropped? And the guy just didn't get it. I was sitting next to Oliver in my 9 a.m. creative writing class, dying inside every time he spoke. This guy had the quietest voice but somehow said the smartest things. Like when our professor asked about metaphors, everyone was trying to sound deep, but Oliver just said 3 words that made the whole room go silent because it was so perfect. I was completely gone for him. So I came up with what I thought was the most romantic plan ever. I wrote him this handwritten note on my good stationery, the kind with the little flowers on it. I spent like an hour making my handwriting look perfect. The note said stuff like, "You make 9 a.m. lectures actually worth showing up for," and "Some people speak in full paragraphs, but you only need a sentence to be memorable." I even drew a little heart at the bottom, instead of writing my name because I thought it would be mysterious and cute. When he got up to use the bathroom, I quickly slipped it into his notebook between his pages of messy notes. My hands were literally shaking. I spent the rest of class staring at the clock, imagining him finding it later, and realizing I was into him. Next class, I showed up early and put on lip gloss, which I never do. Oliver walked in with his usual coffee and backpack covered in random pins. He sat down next to me like always, but then he pulled out my note. My heart started pounding so hard I thought he could hear it. He turned to me with this serious expression and said, "Hey, someone left this in my notebook." He handed me back my own note, but here's the kicker. He had edited it with a red pen. He circled one of my sentences and wrote "unclear metaphor" in the margin. At the bottom, where I drew the heart, he wrote, "Great tone and emotion. Are you submitting this to the campus lit mag?" I just stared at him. He wasn't being mean at all. He genuinely thought it was a writing assignment that got mixed up with his stuff. "Thanks for the feedback," I managed to say, taking the note back. The next week, I decided to be more obvious. I invited him to get coffee to talk about poetry. I spent 30 minutes picking out my outfit and actually wore makeup for the first time all semester. We went to this little cafe near campus where they play indie music way too loud. As we sat down with our drinks, I started talking about how much I loved romantic poetry. I mentioned that I wanted to write about my real-life crush and how hard it was to put those feelings into words. I was basically staring into his eyes while saying this. His response? "Oh yeah, romance is so hard to write believably. You have to really feel it, you know? Like, you can't just make it up." I'm sitting there thinking, I'm feeling it right now. I'm looking at you. What more do you need? Then he started talking about different poets and how they captured love in their work. The whole time, I'm nodding and agreeing while internally screaming because he's treating this like a literature discussion. I tried one more time. As we were leaving, I said, "You know, spending time with you really inspires my writing." I thought that was pretty clear. He smiled and said, "That's awesome. I feel the same way about our class discussions. You always have such good insights." At that point, I realized I had to just tell him straight up. The next day after class, I stopped him in the hallway and said, "Oliver, I like you. Like, I really like you. That note I wrote, it was for you. The coffee thing, that was me asking you on a date." He almost dropped his books. His face turned completely red and he said, "Wait, what? But you're so..." And he gestured at himself like he was explaining why it didn't make sense. "I thought you were way out of my league," he admitted. "I never even considered that you might like me back." Turns out he'd been crushing on me too, but convinced himself I was just being friendly. He kept the edited note in his backpack for weeks because he thought it was beautiful writing, not realizing it was basically a love letter. We've been together for 8 months now.